The Nigerian Civil War, 1967 to 1970, a script. Scene 1. Introduction, A Nation Divided. Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we delve into a pivotal and often painful chapter in African history. The Nigerian Civil War, also known as the Biafran War, fought between July 6, 1967 and January 15, 1970. This conflict pitted the newly independent Federal Republic of Nigeria against the secessionist state of Biafra. It was a war born from deep-seated tensions, leaving an indelible mark on the nation and its people. Scene 2. The seeds of conflict, causes of the war. The roots of the Nigerian Civil War were complex, intertwined with ethnic, political, and economic factors that predated Nigeria's independence from British colonial rule in 1960. The primary cause of the Nigerian Civil War can be attributed to the intricate web of ethnic, political, and economic tensions that characterized Nigeria in the years leading up to its independence and immediately after. The country was a diverse amalgamation of over 250 ethnic groups, with the three dominant ones being the Hausa Fulani in the north, the Yoruba in the west, and the Igbo in the east. These groups had distinct cultural, religious, and political systems, which often led to friction and competition for resources and power within the newly formed federal structure. The political landscape of post-independence Nigeria was volatile. A series of military coups in 1966 dramatically escalated these tensions. The first, on January 15, 1966, was led by a group of predominantly Igbo Junior Army officers, including Major Kaduna Yakubu. This coup resulted in the assassination of several prominent northern and western political leaders, including the Prime Minister, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and the Premier of the Northern Region, Ahmadu Bello. Although the coup was ultimately suppressed, it was widely perceived, particularly in the north, as an Igbo coup aimed at establishing Igbo dominance. The perception of an Igbo-led coup fueled deep resentment, especially in the northern region. This culminated in a counter-coup on July 29, 1966, orchestrated by northern officers. This event saw the assassination of the then head of state, General Johnson Aguiyi-Ironsi, an Igbo, and the ascension of Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, a northerner, to power. The counter-coup was followed by widespread and brutal pogroms against Igbos residing in the northern region between May and September 1966. Thousands of Igbos were massacred, leading to a mass exodus of surviving Igbos back to their ancestral homelands in the eastern region. The return of millions of displaced Igbos to the eastern region, coupled with the horrific accounts of violence, intensified calls for secession. The eastern region's leadership, under Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, felt that the Nigerian federal government was unwilling or unable to guarantee the safety and protection of its people. Attempts to resolve the crisis peacefully, such as the Aburi Accord in Ghana in January 1967, which proposed a loose confederation, ultimately failed due to differing interpretations and a lack of trust between the federal government and the eastern region. With diplomatic solutions exhausted and the safety of his people seemingly compromised within the Nigerian Federation, Ojukwu declared the eastern region the Independent Republic of Biafra on May 30, 1967. This act of secession was the immediate trigger for the Civil War. Scene 3. The war begins. Key events and battles. The declaration of Biafra was met with swift condemnation from the Nigerian federal government, which viewed it as an act of rebellion. On July 6, 1967, the Nigerian Federal Army launched a full-scale offensive, marking the official start of the Nigerian Civil War. The initial phase of the war saw the Nigerian forces, under the command of General Yakubu Gowon, launch Operation Unicord to reclaim the breakaway region. However, Biafran forces surprised the federal government by launching their own offensive, invading the Midwestern region and briefly capturing Benin City and threatening Lagos, the then federal capital. This early success was short-lived, as federal troops soon pushed back the Biafran advance. The war quickly escalated, characterized by intense fighting and strategic maneuvers. The federal forces steadily gained ground, aiming to encircle Biafra and cut off its access to the outside world. Key victories for the Nigerian army included the capture of Enugu, the Biafran capital, in October 1967, and the crucial port city of Port Harcourt, which further isolated Biafra and deprived it of vital oil revenues and sea access. Despite being outmatched in terms of military hardware and manpower, Biafran forces demonstrated remarkable resilience. One notable Biafran victory was the Abagana ambush in March 1968, where Biafran troops successfully ambushed and destroyed a large Nigerian convoy, inflicting heavy casualties and capturing significant amounts of equipment. However, such victories were increasingly rare as the federal blockade tightened. Scene 4. The Humanitarian Crisis, Starvation, and Global Response. As the war progressed, a devastating humanitarian crisis unfolded in Biafra. The Nigerian federal government imposed a total land, sea, and air blockade on the secessionist state, aiming to starve the Biafrans into submission. This strategy led to widespread famine and disease, particularly affecting children. Images of severely malnourished Biafran children, suffering from kwashiorkor, began to circulate globally. These harrowing pictures, broadcast on international television, sparked a massive humanitarian outcry. The plight of Biafra became a cause célèbre in Western countries, leading to a significant increase in funding and prominence for international non-governmental organizations. In response to the crisis, a massive international relief effort, known as the Biafran Airlift, was organized. Joint church aid and other humanitarian groups flew in food, medicine, and other essential supplies, often under dangerous conditions, to alleviate the suffering. This unprecedented humanitarian operation highlighted the devastating impact of modern warfare on civilian populations and even inspired the formation of organizations like Doctors Without Borders. Scene 5. International Involvement and the End of the War. The Nigerian Civil War was not just an internal conflict. It drew significant international attention and involvement, albeit with complex and often contradictory allegiances. The Nigerian federal government received strong support from the United Kingdom, which supplied arms, and the Soviet Union, which provided MiG jets and other military assistance. Egypt also contributed pilots to the Nigerian effort. These powers largely supported the concept of a unified Nigeria and opposed secession. On the other hand, Biafra garnered support from various nations, though often less overtly. France provided clandestine arms, while countries like Tanzania, Gabon, Ivory Coast, Zambia, and Haiti officially recognized Biafra as an independent state. Israel and Portugal also offered some assistance. The United States maintained an official stance of neutrality, viewing Nigeria as a responsibility of Britain, though some interpreted their refusal to recognize Biafra as tacit support for the federal government. By late 1969, Biafra's territory had shrunk significantly, and its forces were exhausted. The federal blockade had taken a severe toll, and international support was waning. On January 10, 1970, Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu, realizing the futility of further resistance, fled to Ivory Coast. His deputy, Major General Philip Effiong, was left to manage the surrender. On January 15, 1970, Major General Philip Effiong officially announced Biafra's surrender, bringing an end to the 30-month-long civil war. The war resulted in an estimated 100,000 military casualties and, tragically, between 500,000 and 2 million Biafran civilians died from starvation and disease. Scene 6. Legacy and Aftermath. The end of the Nigerian Civil War ushered in a period of reconciliation and reconstruction, but its legacy continues to shape Nigeria today. General Yakubu Gowon, the Nigerian head of state, famously declared a policy of no victor, no vanquished, aiming to foster national unity and healing. He initiated the 3 Rupees program, reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reintegration, to rebuild the war-torn regions and reintegrate former Biafran soldiers and civilians into Nigerian society. Despite these efforts, the war left deep scars. The Igbo people, who formed the majority in Biafra, experienced significant political marginalization in the post-war era. To this day, Nigeria has not had another Igbo president, leading to persistent feelings among some Igbos that they are being unfairly punished for the war. The war also gave rise to renewed Igbo nationalism and the emergence of various neo-Biafran secessionist groups, such as the indigenous people of Biafra and the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. These groups continue to advocate for an independent Biafran state, highlighting the unresolved issues and historical grievances stemming from the Civil War. Scene 7. Conclusion, Lessons Learned. The Nigerian Civil War stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of ethnic strife, political instability, and the failure of dialogue. It was a conflict that tested the very fabric of a young nation, leaving behind a complex legacy of pain, resilience, and an ongoing quest for true national unity. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a critical period in Nigeria's history. We hope this script has provided a comprehensive overview of the Nigerian Civil War, its causes, events, and lasting impact.